Thank you, Austin, for the introduction. Appreciate it. I can't believe it's already been 5 webinars. We've been working together since the summer or so, and just trying to find some ways to be able to help other school owners, whether it be the martial arts or CrossFit or yoga space, be able to help grow their businesses. One of the things I know Austin's mentioned to me before is that we're a martial arts school. We're a mom and pop karate school. That's what we do. But I know there's lots of different types of businesses represented here in today's webinar. I know some of you guys may be also martial arts schools. Some of you guys may be yoga studios, I know. Some of you guys may be art studios, I know, or CrossFit gyms, UFC. Business is business. And it doesn't matter whether, what you teach, whether it's karate or UFC or Weiji Bongo, doesn't matter. The principles that we're going to teach today apply directly towards any type of business within our industry as far as fitness or outside of our industry as well. In fact, a lot of the tips that we're going to share, some of them may be specific to what we've learned through the martial arts industry, but a lot of it is done from research, extensive research and education from outside the industry. But without further ado, we'll get started. Today, we're really going to be covering retention. Retention and student experience is one of the most important aspects to our business. The last couple webinars, if you've caught some of those, we talked a lot about marketing, about bringing people into your business. Also critical. But if you're not retaining the people that you're bringing in, you're not going to be growing. One of the schools that we work with, we were talking to the phone the other day from Australia. They're signing up an average of 10 students per month. And that's great. But when we asked them, okay, how many students are you losing? Number one, they had to go and look up the statistic. That statistic's an important one to keep track of, and Zen Planner can help you with that. But they were losing about 9 students a month, which means their net gain was only 1 student per month. So that's something critical to take a look at, and that's where retention comes into play. A little bit about us, for those who have not attended one of our webinars before. My name is Nikhil Joshi, as I mentioned. We, as a martial arts school, has started about 27 years ago, back in 1992. My teacher, who you see in the center on the right picture over there, Shion Brad Wennerberg, is the founder of our system of karate. And he started off the campus with a vision, with a dream, and in about 1,000 square foot location, about the size of our lobby today. And gradually grew it into what is today a 15,000 square foot location, housing over 750 active students, on track to gross close to $1.7 million this year. But it all started with the vision. It all started with one student that he had and gradually grew from there. About 7 years ago, my wife and I on the left, we opened up our Placentia campus in tandem with Shion Wennerberg, my teacher. We're still in association together. We're still considered one school. And through the principles of what he built over 20 years, built out our second location, which is have grown very rapidly. Currently at about 385 active students, on track for over $1 million this year. Our most profitable program is our life skills-based martial arts program. We're at the heart of it. We're a mom and pop school. We don't have any fads or anything like that. That's what we stick to. As you may have already noticed, I do tend to talk fast from teaching kids all day long. So feel free to, if you have any questions as we move on here, feel free to ask them, and we will in the chat box, and we'll be able to clarify towards the end of the webinar too. In our first webinar that we did, when we talked about how to build $1 million school, we talked about what we call our P3 mastery method. And our mastery method is based off of 3 big items. Number one, these pillars. These 5 pillars here, which we'll delve into in a second: vision, product, staff, metrics, and marketing. Those are the pillars to any successful business, especially in our industry. With these 5, if you master those pillars, it leads to our second P, which is greater profits, which in turn leads to peace and prosperity. So that everything that we go into, from our marketing, as we discussed in our last couple of webinars, to our overall school concept, as we discussed in our very first webinar, but even retention goes into these 5. A lot of times business owners think, or instructors think, that, okay, it's just about the instructor on the floor. That's the only thing that retention matters. Or it's just about, the marketing. If I'm marketing the right way, that's going to help with retention. It's all 5 of these. If you don't have these 5 in place in the right way, retention's not going to work. Towards the end, we have, and Austin, I think we'll put in the links in the chat box in a little bit, where we're going to delve into the P3 Mastery Method a little bit more. We have a special year-end online training going on, where we're really focusing on helping schools build the profits with 3 profit secrets to help your school grow for 2020. So Austin will put that in the chat box in a little bit here, but that's something that we're going to be talking about later on. It's absolutely free for all Zen Planner clients, but we will be delving into that a little bit more. So let's start with vision. What do you want your school to look like? It's important to have an idea of that, an idea of your culture when you're opening up your school, or even if you've already opened up your school. You want to have an idea of that culture because that's going to lead into retention. The culture and how people you feel about the school, how people interact within the school, how they're connecting with other parents if you're in a kid space, or how they're connecting with each other if you're in an adult space, is essential. Nowadays in our social media, in our Yelp world, this is critical because people are constantly conversing, not just when they're at your school, but they're constantly conversing when they're not at your school. There has to be a balance between the business aspects and the mom and pop. I like to use the example of Best Buy versus the mom and pop electronics store that you may or may not have in your town, or for that matter, Best Buy versus Amazon. You have to have that balance in personal connection and that personal connection of between yourselves and your clients, but at the same time have the systems in place to where you're building that professionalism as well. How do you want people to feel about your business? Retention is all about feeling and experience. This is a question that if you have not answered for yourself already, this is something that as we approach the year end, that I would recommend taking some time and thinking about. Looking at your culture and saying, how are people talking about your business? How are people feeling about your business? Some schools that we work with, or I've seen in some of the Facebook groups or whatnot, have major issues with culture, where they have these weeds that are sticking out with, for example, parents who are complaining and whatnot, and it spreads like wildfires from one parent to all of a sudden 3 to 5 parents. Maybe they're complaining about your class schedule or this or that or the other. We don't have those issues in our school because we've developed an open door policy where people can come in and talk to us anytime. We have the structure of the big business aspects, but at the same time, we have the communication. So people feel comfortable and people feel like they're on their side. Really look at how you want to feel. Are you a gym? Are you a school? Are you an academy? How do you classify yourself? And does your model, does your culture, does your atmosphere, does your school layout for that matter match that vision? I'll use an example of going to an Orange Theory gym for matter, which I just visited one. They're opening up one in my neighborhood, so I went and visited one. Haven't tried out the workout yet. Compared to a 24-hour fitness, which I belong to, which is like a big box gym. The big box gym is just that. It's a gym. You go there, you work out. The expectation is that the bathroom is probably not going to be very clean. The showers aren't very clean, but you get your workout in, right? Now compare that to an Orange Theory, and this was a brand new one. I don't know if they're all this way or not, but everything smells clean. The air conditioning's blasting. You know that there's a different quality when you're paying 25 bucks a month versus 150 bucks a month in Orange Theory. That's the same thing that we have to look at within our own business, whether you're CrossFit, whether you're karate, or whatever it may be. Really layering yourself with that $1 million mindset, like we talked about in the first webinar. We covered this a lot in that first webinar, so if you missed it, I'm sure there's some links on the Zen Planner website, or Austin can get you as well. So definitely go back and we'll discuss vision some more. With retention, one of the most important aspects as well is the golden rule. The golden rule, as we all know when we're kids, is treating others the way that you'd want to be treated as a customer. We're living in a very customer-oriented world where it used to be that a very business-oriented world, wherever the business says goes. Nowadays, you look at the leading businesses. Tesla is a great example of that. If you buy a Tesla car, and there's an issue with your car, they'll come to your house to fix your car on your own schedule. You don't have to worry about bringing it to a mechanic. Zappos, if you're familiar with Zappos, they're now owned by Amazon. They're known and they were built through customer service. If you don't get the right shoes that you want, they don't fit you, you don't like them, they smell weird, it doesn't matter. You return them and they'll pay for the shipping, and that's that. You can get a refund, no problem. Zappos also responds to every single email. If you email the CEO at Zappos today, they'll respond to that email. We all know the legendary stories about Amazon, but especially Nordstrom's and Costco, where you can return anything. You know, a woman, I read a story in a magazine recently where a woman went to go return her dead grandmother's coat, who she bought from Amazon, and Nordstrom had to take it back. So stories like that, now those are extreme examples, but at the same time, they're known for that customer service experience. My wife, when we got married 4 years ago, she went to Macy's first to go buy some wedding shoes. And she tried Macy's, tried JCPenney's, and I appreciate her trying. But she waited around Macy's for probably about 20 to 30 minutes or so, ready to buy a $500 pair of shoes for her wedding dress, and no one came around to help her out. She walked into Nordstrom. She was greeted right away with a cup of coffee. She had a consultant there to help her out throughout the entire process. Within 30 minutes, she was in and out with the shoes that she wanted, for trying a bunch of them on as well. So that experience, people remember. Now, when a wife goes to shop nowadays, she's definitely going to Nordstrom's, not Macy's, unfortunately for my wallet. Trader Joe's, that's another great example. There was a grandpa, 89-year-old man, who was stuck in his house in the snowstorm, could not get out, and he was unable to drive. His granddaughter was worried about her, so she called the local Trader Joe's, gave them a list, and they, at no charge, went out and delivered the groceries within 30 minutes because they were scared that he was going to get stuck in his house during a snowstorm. Stories like that, people remember and people share. A lot of those stories are years old and people are still talking about it. Now, there's also the horrible customer service examples, right? You know, we all had those experiences with the cable company, with the phone company, those big industries where no one ever wants to deal with a cable company, right? With DirecTV or whatever. Southwest, they used to have an excellent reputation, but all of a sudden, they started to have a couple bad ones that were pretty bad over the last couple of years, and now that's tainted their reputation. They had to recover from that. One of my friends bought a Lexus recently, and they bought a car. They were promised something, and when he took home the car, it did not have all the features that were promised. So he had to go back in, and they said, hey, you know what? We don't have that car. We'll give you a full refund for it, or you can have this one. So customer service experience like that is where people remember and people talk about. Ritz-Carlton, they have a $2,000 rule. They will spend $2,000 per incident to make you happy. Now, know that the average Ritz customer will spend $250,000 over the lifetime with the Ritz, but they're willing per incident to spend $2,000. If you forgot your snow skis, ask them when you're at the Ritz-Carlton if you're staying there, and they'll find you some skis. So there's that experience, and I'm not saying that we have to go overboard, but at the same time, we have to recognize that, hey, if we go out there and we wow our customers and we give them wow experiences, even if it's a small things like calling them on their birthday, that's going to make a big impact long term. So I'm going to go show a video over here, and I hope this works. If not, I'm going to switch screens here, but let's give it a shot.
Medium turkey chili.
Medium crab bisque.
I didn't get any bread.
Just forget it. Let it go.
Excuse me, I think you forgot my bread.
Bread, $2 extra.
$2, but everyone in front of me got free bread.
You want bread?
Yes, please.
$3. What? No soup for you.
Good afternoon. One large crab bisque to go. Bread.
Beautiful. You're pushing your luck, little man.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey there. Oh, one mulligatawny and, what is that right there? Is that lima bean?
yes.
Never been a big fan. You know what? Has anyone ever told you look exactly like Al Pacino? You know, Scent of a Woman. Hoo-ah!
Very good. Very good. You know something? No soup for you. Come back. 1 year. Next. Go on. Leave. Get out.
But I didn't do anything.
Next.
Hello.
You think you can get soup? Please, you're wasting everyone's time.
I don't want soup. I can make my own soup. 5 cups chopped porcini mushrooms, half a cup of olive oil, 3 pounds celery.
That is my recipe for wild mushroom.
Yeah, that's right. I got 'em all. Cold cucumber, corn and crab chowder, mulligatawny.
Mulligatawny.
You're through, soup Nazi. Back it up. No more soup for you.
All right, let me go ahead and get back to our normal presentation.
Share abroad at no extra charge with everyone back home in this.
Sorry, guys. Get back over here. So let's go back to that soup example real quick. So you have 3 different people right there. You have Jerry, you have George, and then you have Elaine. Now, with that, number one, I want you to think in your mind for a second, who do you know within your sphere of influence, within other businesses who are like the soup Nazi, who are, it's either their way or the highway. Those kind of businesses in today's world just don't survive. In today's world, again, with the Yelp world and the customer-centric world, even with the greatest product, if you don't have the customer service, if you're not likable, they're not going to survive long-term. But we'll go back to those 3 people. With Jerry, you got Jerry who's trying to introduce his friends to this soup place. You got George who's doing his best to try and survive, and he makes a small faux pas or makes a complaint, and no soup for you. And then, so how does that make Jerry feel? When you refer somebody to somebody and they have a poor experience, how does that make the referrer feel? Then you got Elaine, who's just out to cause some trouble, the annoying customer. We all have some of those. But here's the issue. Even if you treat the annoying customer in today's world poorly, even if they deserve it, guess what? They're going to tell their friends. And them telling their friends can cost you more business than is handleable sometimes. There's a saying that if you have a great experience, great, you'll tell a couple people. But if you have a poor experience somewhere, you'll tell everybody. So remember that as you guys look at your school, look at your processes, whether it be when people are canceling, as we'll talk about a little bit later, whether it be at enrollment, whether it be when you owe someone a refund or not. But how you handle those types of situations are going to be marks for your business long term, if you're careful. So let's move on. Moving to enrollment. Retention starts at enrollment. Keeping students from quitting starts at enrollment. One of the key things to do is to handle the objection before it comes up. Any sales presentation, you always want to handle objections before they come up. So one of the long-term objections that you're going to have when you're enrolling somebody is that eventually you know they're going to want to quit. So we work, a majority of our clients are kids, parents of kids. So at some point, those kids are going to want to quit. So that we pre-frame the parents ahead of time saying, hey, you know what? Your child's going to want to quit at some point, probably within the first couple months. When that happens, let us know because we have solutions. Okay, if you handle that from the get-go, as opposed to just relying on policy, like, hey, you know what, it's a contract or this or that or the other. You know what, if your child wants to quit, tough luck, or you're gonna have to teach your kid commitment. That's not a positive customer service experience. But if you pre-frame it ahead of time, saying, hey, at some point your child's gonna wanna quit, that's gonna help big time. Number 2, parent orientations. We do new client orientation. So if you have an adult-oriented school, you should be doing this with your adults. If you have a parents to your customers, you should be doing this with your parents. And we do an orientation to go through some of the policies, go through how promotions and testing works for us, go through some of the basic rules and etiquette, go through a referral program, go through how to, how to handle billing, etc. But one of the other biggest reasons why we do this is because we let them know, again, at some point, raise your hand if your child's already wanted to quit. It's 100% normal. We have solutions to help you deal with it. The number one thing you got to do is let us know. And it's going to happen, and it's 100% normal. Don't let your child become a victim to this. Let us know, and we can solve it. And we'll talk about how we do that in a second. Periodic emails. There's certain seasons based on tracking, and Zen Planner can help you track this. We use Zen Planner a lot for this, where you can know when you have the most dropouts. So if you know that, hey, July is a month where you get the most dropouts, or December, or whatever the case may be, preempt that. Have automatic emails set out ahead of time that will say, hey, you know what? This is a time where a lot of kids have issues, or a lot of people are, and have motivational emails pre-set out. I'll give you an example, daylight savings times. We have our Little Ninja program, which is designed for 3 to 5-year-olds. We know the week of daylight savings times throws havoc on those kids' schedules, and kids that age level are very routine based. So guess what? Before daylight savings times and after daylight savings times, and that week, we have emails going out saying, hey, you know what? Your kid's gonna have issues this week. Don't sweat it, it's normal. We'll get them back in routine next week. That has saved us quite a bit of students. Having an upgrade program. Our long-term Blackwell Club program, which we don't have time to go through in today's webinar, helps a lot with this because it's setting a long-term goal for them and working backwards and helping them get there. We don't do any contracts at our school. That's our personal preference. We found that doesn't work for us. But having an upgrade program structured the right way can help you. If you don't have an upgrade program that's goal-based, not just an upgrade program where they're getting more stuff, but a goal-based upgrade program, let us know, shoot us an email, and we can be able to help you brainstorm that a little bit. Even with an upgrade program, we have students who prepay tuition and they write checks for one student $8,000 to $10,000, wherever the case may be. I let them know right there and then when they're writing the check that, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you, Mr. Smith, your child's going to want to quit sometime during these next couple of years. When that happens, all I ask is you let me know so we can solve it together. I'm upfront with them and they appreciate that. Now, moving on to our product. So 27 years ago, when Xian opened up the school, he based it on these 5 teaching principles. And these 5 teaching principles, again, are unique to us. This is what we do within our martial arts school. You're more than welcome to utilize these. And if you take them into any business that you do, and any excellent business does these teaching principles in some way. Number 1, we care. We truly care about every person that comes into our studio. Number 2, we believe. We believe that every person can train and achieve black belt. So number 1, we care, we show that. When someone walks into our door, there's someone at the front desk, no matter what, saying hi. When on the way out, there's an instructor or one of my front desk people, whatever, saying bye. When we find out that someone's sick, guess what? We send them a greeting card right away. There's a system built for that. We call and we wish them happy birthday. Personally, not just an email and a text message. We do all 3. When we find out that someone's had a baby, guess what? We send them a stuffed animal and with a birthday card saying, "Hey, we can't wait to meet little Johnny." Number 2 is we believe. We believe that every student can train and achieve black belt, which is our big goal in our martial arts school, black belt and beyond. So we have students from various ages, from 2.5 years old up to 91 years old. We have students who with different special needs, whether it be emotional special needs or physical special needs. We have one of our students in a wheelchair who just earned his black belt. Without watering down the curriculum, we believe that every student can achieve. And we show them that. Number 3, we challenge them. Belief without challenge is not good. So we challenge them to help them improve and make them stronger. Number 4, we reward. That's where things like obviously belt promotions for us come into play. That's where things like stripes they earn on their belts, or attendance systems, or card systems, or gamification, where, for example, when a white belt, when they hit their 3rd class, we reward them with a special t-shirt. When a yellow belt, when they get to 8th class, they get a private lesson. There's different perks like that, or different things that we do that people really feed off of reward. Look at the 5 love languages. If you ever look at that book, or the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins talks about, those all tie into this. Number 5, we praise. We build up and we praise. We let them know in class in person. We write handwritten notes. Each one of our staff writes a handwritten note at the end of the night. We send video messages to people sometimes, or a personal email, but we let them know that we care. Okay, it's much more than just going into the 24-hour fitness and getting your workout and leaving and not knowing any person there. We want to be a place where people belong. That's been my teacher's vision for 27 years, and we continue to do that today. On the floor, one of the pieces that are missing in a lot of schools that we visit is floor vision. There's 3 point of views that are essential for floor vision. With that, you must have high quality classes before we go into that. So the classes is your product. That is the most important part to retention. Because if the classes are not there, if the students aren't having fun, if the parents aren't seeing the value, they're not going to continue with it. Okay, if you have an amazing product, that's the biggest part to retention, more so than any bells and whistles. But there's 3 points of views. Most people think about the first 2. Number 1, the instructor point of view. Okay, is the instructor's point of view is, are they getting what they need to out of the class? Are they understanding this kata? Are they understanding this form? Are they doing this correctly? That's an important point of view to have. Number 2, obviously the student point of view. Are they smiling, sweating, and learning? Are they having a good time? Are they learning? Are they getting what they want to get out of it? For an adult, that's pretty simple. That's pretty simple. For a kid, that's pretty simple. But that's something that we need to make sure that they're doing. If you're just focused on the instructor point of view and you don't care whether the student's having a good time or not, or they're accomplishing their goals or not, then eventually those students aren't going to want to be there anymore. But the third point of view, which is the most forgotten point of view, is the parent or the visitor's point of view. So if you're teaching kids, those parents in your lobby watching, and hopefully you allow them to watch, that's important. But those parents who are writing the checks, the customers, you got to make sure that they're seeing value in what you're doing. I'll give you a quick example of that. For our kids' classes, sometimes at the end, we'll do a fun drill. We don't call them games, we call them drills. Because games, you can play games at home, but drills have value. But our end of class drill sometimes may be dodgeball. And if I just say, okay, kids, we're going to go play dodgeball, when the parents watching that, what kind of value are they seeing? Right? Oh, they can play dodgeball at home. But if I say, guys, we're going to do a drill called dodgeball today, and your job is to work on your reaction time. When that ball comes, I want you to imagine like it's a punch coming to your sparring. Your job is to move out of the way. Now, in reality, the kids are excited to play dodgeball, but the parent who's listening in the background saying, okay, now there's some value behind that, okay? Same thing if you teach adults. Either that visitor who's watching or that first-time student that's watching, are they seeing the value before they write that check, okay? There's 2 different types of people in your business that you're constantly reselling, your user and your customer, okay? Sometimes that's the same. If you have an adult student, the user and the customer can be the same. But if you work with kids, like I know a lot of you do, the users are the kids. They have to be having an excellent user experience. But you can't forget about the customer. Your customer is always the person writing the check. That's the parent. What are you doing for the customer who's writing the check? If you were to come into our school, again, we're a very kid-centric school. We have a lot of adult students as well, but most of those are parents of kids. But we have a beautiful viewing area at both of our schools with comfy areas. We just bought some new couches, for example, etc. So parents feel comfortable watching their kids. We have a coffee machine where they can make lattes and whatnot. So that way they can have a customer experience that's great, complimentary Wi-Fi, etc. We want them to feel comfortable because at the end of the day, yes, it's important I teach their kid a quality class, but at the same time, we want that customer to constantly be rewriting that check over and over again. Family environment. So this picture real quick is of Brett. Brett's been a student of ours for about 7 years, and he has some developmental challenges. He's actually with Down syndrome. He's 46 years old, but he is one of my favorite students to work with. Definitely challenging, but he's a lot of fun. With that, one of the things that we work on with Brett is as he gets ready to test for black belt, all of our students put together a testimonial, a letter of what they gained out of the martial arts. So Brett writes one, and also for the kid students, the parents wrote one, and Brett's parents chose to write one as well. And one of the things that they say is that our family environment keeps them coming back, okay? Brett has burnt out on any other activity before. He's tried basketball, he's tried soccer, and I'm sure a lot of your students can relate. They've tried other gyms, but they keep coming back because he feels at home when he comes to the karate studio. He feels like he belongs. He feels like he's in a place where people care about him and know his name. Okay, that's why Brett keeps coming back. So I challenge you guys to say, hey, is that the environment that we're creating? Doesn't matter whether you're a CrossFit gym or 24-hour fitness or a karate school or a yoga school. Creating that family environment, those relationships are what keep people coming back. So here's a couple quick tips that we do. Number one, DNS. DNS stands for did not show. If someone doesn't show for a week, we call them, we text them. There's an automated email sent out through Zen Planner that gets to them. Very important. Let me ask you this, does 24-hour fitness or LA Fitness do that? Probably not. But we care about those students. We want them to keep coming back. We know if they stop showing up, they're probably not going to come back. Sure, I can keep cashing that check, but there's, for them to be able to continue to refer friends, etc., we have to think long-term. Number two, special events. We do lots of different special events at our school, ranging from parents' night outs, like I'm sure some of you guys do, to our competitions, etc. But two of our big ones that we do are our family picnic and our holiday party. So this Sunday, we have our holiday party, which we rent out a big hall for. We'll have 400 people there, and we get to break bread, get to eat, relax, and enjoy. Parents look forward to this event. We have a video montage of pictures that play throughout the year. But these kind of things help build that community and help them build friends. So now, instead of just coming to karate class, now they're coming to karate class to see their friend that they met at the holiday party. Additional family members. December and January are excellent months to start focusing in on additional family members. Siblings, other referrals, obviously, but maybe if you have kids, getting their parents involved or getting spouses involved, etc. The more family members that you have involved in the program, the higher the retention rate is going to be. Because when one of them is down, the other one's still coming, so the other one, they're going to be picking each other back up. So brainstorm ways that you can continue to get more family members into your school. Again, we have lots of strategies for that, so if you need any help with that, feel free to shoot me an email or a text. Create memories. We do our video montage, as I mentioned. When someone's birthday is in class, we sing them happy birthday. We have a special belt that they wear. At promotion, we're constantly highlighting people. We have chairs on the floor so they can invite their friends and their parents sit on the dojo floor with us for the promotions. These kind of things are designed to help create memories that are going to last long term. Our average student stays with us beyond black belt. We have, between our two campuses, 100 active training black belts because they're a part of the environment. They're a part of the family. Lastly, at some point, you're going to have to let people go, though. At some point, people are going to quit. Attrition is normal. Sometimes it happens in good ways. Sometimes it happens in bad ways. I'll harken back to slide 5, the golden rule. Treat others the way that you want to be treated. We've all had the horrible canceling experiences at other places, right? Trying to cancel your cable company. Oh, man, that was an hour-long conversation I had. Just trying to get to the right person and then say, no, I want to quit. Yes, you want to try and save them. Do your best to solve them. If it's a motivation issue, say, hey, I'd love to do a private lesson and try and fix it. If it's a scheduling issue, you know what? We have a once-a-week program. Let's try that, or whatever the case may be. Do your best to save it. But at some point, don't keep sticking your foot in the mouth like the guy on the right. Attrition is normal. At some point, you have to let them go. Schedule a return date. Okay? If they're leaving because, hey, you know what? We're going to be gone for the summer. Do your best to try and solve it. Hey, we can do once a week, or we can do that. But you know what? At the end of the day, if they're going to be gone for the summer, or if they're gone for December, great. Let's set up a date on January for a private lesson. We're going to put in the books right now. Your billing is going to restart this day, or whatever the case may be, and get them back in. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face. We have students coming back all the time because when we leave, we don't make them feel like a huge guilt trip. All right, a lot of martial arts school or a lot of businesses do. We don't, because we want to leave things on a positive note. Okay, and even if they don't come back, we want them to have a good taste in their mouth. So when their friend says, hey, you know what, we're looking for a karate place, they say, you know what, choose American Martial Arts Academy. They treated me fairly. Okay, we have prepaid programs where we ask for where people are sometimes entitled for a refund if they don't utilize all of their program. We make that as seamless, as easy a process as possible. Because if they feel like we're trying to take advantage of them, remember, if you treat one person right, they'll tell a friend. But if you screw someone over, they're going to tell everybody. Tracking. So I mentioned this before with Zen Planner. You have lots of ways you can track. Set that up. Talk to Austin, talk to the team at Zen Planner. There's ways you can track in there exactly why students quit. So make sure you're tracking not just when students quit, but making sure you keep your database up to date and healthy, but at the same time, track why they quit. And you can also put holds on there through Zen Planner. So someone's just gone for a month, you can put them on hold and their billing resumes if they see them back in January. Just make sure they come back in January. But track when the times are, so that way you know, hey, you know what, this is a tougher month. This is something to be aware of. It helps with cash flow planning as well. These metrics are something that we look at on a regular basis, something that we discuss every staff meeting. Just like with new students, we're also looking at dropouts. Okay. That sums it up so far. I know there's some questions that are popping up and things like that, so we'll go to open it up for that. Do we have any, Austin?
Yeah, it doesn't look like too many questions as of right now. Juliana was looking for a written list of essential things to go over at orientation, which do you have thoughts on things that you like to go over at orientation when new students start?
Absolutely. If someone were to, whoever that was, were to email me, I will put together, we have a special outline that we have. I just did one of these last night. You could text me or email me and I'll get that to you. But in a nutshell, what that is we go through some of the basic etiquette. We go through a little bit of our history of our school. And again, it's not off the top of my head, so this isn't the correct order. But we go through how promotions and belt testings work, if you do that, how students advance, go through some of our upgrade programs, pre-framing that, go through what happens when your child wants to quit. We have an outline for that. And we go through referrals. So those are kind of the big things that we emphasize. I have a full outline, so if anybody would like that outline, what we go through exactly in their parent orientations, feel free to shoot me a text or an email. We also do another orientation. We started doing it at Bluebell. We track through Zen Planner. Zen Planner is the best tracking tools. We noticed that Bluebell was a time where a lot of students were quitting. So we did a Bluebell orientation. When someone goes to Bluebell, we do a Bluebell orientation saying, hey, we know motivation's tough at this level. Here's how we can solve it. And so that way we really get another communication avenue with those students at those levels. So that's why tracking and that's why having a tool like Zen Planner is essential.
Perfect. And Sandra is asking, do you post your policies online or do you do a handbook? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so we do, we have a book that we hand out that we actually do for like each age level. There's a training book that goes through some ways they can learn how to tie their belt, go through some of the basic techniques that they're working on, and it goes through all of our policies. But I'll be honest with you, probably 20% of people may read that, 80% won't. So that's where the parent orientation comes in really handy.
Cool. Yeah, well, that's all of the questions we had. The link to the training that Nikhil mentioned is in the chat, and then I'll also send it out in my follow-up email with the recording of the session. So. Yeah.
The training is going to be really exciting, guys. It's going to be a year-end online training that's going to summarize some of what we talked about through some of our last couple webinars. But the big theme behind it is 3 ways to more profit in 2020. And number 2 is really exciting, guys. We're going to be talking about marketing. We're going to be talking about profit in general, some key things to be tracking. It's going to be excellent, especially if you're a Zen Planner client. We'd love to have you guys there. It's absolutely free. There's no sales pitch at the end or anything like that. So check it out. It's be cool. It's that link right on the right-hand side over there. I want to thank, we've been doing 5 webinars. We hope to do more in 2020. But I want to thank Austin and the team at Zen Planner. It's been a lot of fun helping you guys out and being able to chat with a lot of you guys afterwards as well. I enjoy getting a chance to meet you guys. But if you haven't already, Zen Planner is an awesome tool. If you're not using it, I strongly recommend it. We've been clients for 5 years now, and there's no other tool we look at. So.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been great doing these webinars with you. And I know the businesses we work with get a lot of value out of it. But we will be coming back next week with a webinar on all of the features and releases in 2019. So look back at the year on what we've released. So look out for a banner asking to sign up for that webinar. Otherwise, we'll see y'all again in 2020.
Have a great one, guys.